Welcome back to another episode of the Creative Commerce Podcast. I'm your host, Jeffrey Scott from jeffreyscottmedia.com, and today's episode is another solo show. No guest today, but on this episode, I'll be talking more creatively and less businessy, sort of in the business realm. We're going to be talking about spec work and doing your own work if you don't have any client work, so kind of the more creative free will behind doing your own product shoots, doing your own commercial work, things like that, where you're not really bound to a client's specifications or requirements. With spec work, you're able to kind of do your own thing, but show it off as professional work for what you would want to be hired for. So we're going to get into that in this episode. So I'll also touch on why it's important to create fun stuff for yourself, because after all, this is our passion. So we don't always have to work all the time. If you don't know what a spec ad is, it's basically an ad that you create for yourself for a company, and they don't even know you're making it, and they're not paying you. So basically you're making like sort of like a fake ad, and you get to attach a big name or a big name brand to whatever you're making of whatever you choose to make. But before we get into all of this, let's get into the gear update. On this gear update, I want to feature the Aputure Light Dome and Light Dome Mini. Aputure is such a well-known lighting brand. They always make amazing, high-quality lighting products, but with the new Aputure Light Dome and the Light Dome Mini, they offer a new and upgraded feature compared to their older models. So also, just to be clear, these are just the diffusion light boxes. They're not actual lights. So, I mean, you know the company's good when they're just selling and like crafting good domes, like diffusers. So the new Light Dome is 3 feet wide and the Mini is 2 feet. They both have a new quick folding design to save time during setup, and with these you can create flattering soft light with 2 front diffusion cloth. They have a heavy duty construction. They're made of steel rods for increased durability and longevity. The Aputure Light Dome 3 is $219 and the Mini is $129, and they're now available for pre-order and will be available everywhere soon. So like I said before, it's got to be a good company and got to be a good light, if they're just selling good diffusers and light boxes. So if you want to upgrade your lighting, maybe check out Aputure. I mean, these diffusers are expensive on their own, so I could only imagine what the lights would cost. But based on the solid materials and the craftsmanship that they advertise and put into this, I think it would be a great investment to get a good light and then a good diffuser from this company, and then you'd be able to use it for years upon years, hopefully, and then you get some good use out of it. Typically, whenever I buy gear or if I buy something expensive, I usually validate it by thinking, how many times am I going to use this and what's the cost per use? So something may be like $500 or even like $1,000-something for a new camera, but if I'm going to be using that every day for I don't know how many years, then maybe the cost per use will be like $1 a day if I use it for 1,000 days, if it's $1,000, right? So thinking of it as like an investment with the time that you're putting into using it kind of helps me validate my expensive purchases. So now let's get into the inspiration insight. On this inspiration insight, I challenge you to stick to a color palette. Either for both photo or video, capture things that stick to a similar color palette. Or you can also just color grade and post what you capture to match the colors. I think playing with colors is a fun way to make a uniform look, sort of like a monochromatic look, but it also lets you focus on certain colors to make them pop. I definitely want to try something like this soon. Like I've done black and white photo galleries before and, stuck to that black and gray monochromatic pattern, of course, since it's black and white. But I've seen a lot of cool stuff on Instagram from people sticking to like a certain color palette, whether it's like teal and orange or like focusing on the greens, contrasting colors of red and green. It just doesn't have to be like a same color, like just monochrome, but just focusing on like 1 or 2 colors to like make them pop and stand out. I think that would be very interesting to try out. My favorite color is blue, so I've seen a lot of things with like lakes and oceans, and I've seen people really take those like deep blues and make them look really nice. I think this is an easy and achievable challenge for yourself today. Just mess around while capturing your photos or videos and just edit and post to make everything pop. Like you probably don't have to have anything in mind while you shoot. I mean, that would help to have like a vision and a goal in mind while you're shooting. But if you're just going out to get stuff and then you can go home and post and you can make it look like however you want. Maybe you have an idea of what you wanted, but maybe switching to a different color in post worked out better. Things can change when you go out and shoot, and then you come home to edit. Ideas can change, and that's okay to do, and that's kind of fun. It's unexpected. If you want to share your content and have a chance to be featured on the podcast, use hashtag #InspirationInsight and tag me, and I will put you and your work on the podcast. So now let's get into the main topic of personal projects and spec ads. I think personal projects in general just allow you to break free from client work and the constraints of being able to fully express yourself from your artistic vision. Like I said before, we mostly likely got into this line of work because it was our hobby or passion to create. So it's great to give yourself the time to create stuff for yourself. I'm not sure when this episode's going to come out, but I'm currently working on my final yearly video of showing my years through college. And that's a very important personal project that I've been doing for the past few years, that I've been sinking a lot of time and creative energy into. I might skip a couple weeks of the show to focus on that, who knows? But yeah, if you're watching this on YouTube or you have my YouTube channel, you're subscribed, you can go to my playlists and you can see my playlist. I think it's called My College Years, and you can see me from my freshman year to my junior year, and then I'm currently working on my senior year video. I always put like a creative song or songs that I like at that time that kind of define what the era is or how I'm feeling. And then I shoot what I'm doing during the day or day to day, what I would be normally doing during that time. And things have definitely changed over the years. So it's very interesting, especially if I were to watch these videos 10 years from now, look back on them and see like, oh, I looked like that and I did these things. Here are these locations that I frequent. Like, I'm hoping it'll be a good memory recorded to video. But yeah, like personal projects like that where you really are passionate about your own personal work, they not only keep you busy by working on something that you actually enjoy, but it may teach you some creative things that you'd want to incorporate into your main workflow for client work. I mean, of course, personal projects are, well, more personal, but instead of just having client work all over your portfolio, I mean, now you may have some more life and personal art to show for on your portfolio. With that more personal and personality flair to your own personal work on your portfolio, that may intrigue potential clients to work with you more than someone else because now you're just not some mass-produced production company. You're a human who also creates personal and emotional stuff for yourself. A lot of the time when we work with clients, we're not given a lot of creative control, so I think it's a good practice being creative on your own terms so you don't really lose that spark and you keep your personal passion flowing. Not only will you be creative on your own projects, of course, but you'll be able to blend that creativity into the paid client work as well. Especially when you don't have any clients at all, working on your own stuff is very beneficial because it gets you feet on the ground, hands on the camera, putting in those hours of learning how to make a good video or take good photos. And all those hours and work will translate better to your paid client work because now you'll have more experience than someone who's just starting out and is just waiting to have their first client instead of going out and creating for themselves. I think with each project, you'll always gain some valuable insights. You'll always refine your artistic identity and draw closer to achieving your creative aspirations. I think personal projects are not just side gigs or side projects, but I think they have essential elements in the artistic journey. Like I said, it'll allow you to pull from those personal creative projects, and you could possibly implement those same strategies or tactics into your paid work as well. It just empowers you to explore your passions and evolve as an artist and leave a lasting impression on both yourself and the audience since it's more a personal project. I'm looking into creating more creative photos for Instagram and like actively posting on Instagram. So it's something that'll keep me busy creatively as well. Not only doing my client work and posting that, but also taking photos of things that I find interesting and things that I want to show off. And then try to make it as high quality as possible and try to put the same amount of effort I would be if I was getting paid, but into my own work. It's kind of like almost having a free professional photographer at all times. You know, you can have some really great stuff for yourself and you're the one with the skills, so why not use it for yourself? Back in high school, I took my own senior photos. We didn't get a photographer or anything. I just took my own photos. So that not only saved money, but it let me be more personal and take the photos that I actually wanted. and I actually wanted to post. But yeah, about personal photos on Instagram, in the content spotlight, I'll share a photographer that's inspired me to do this and hopefully pull off his style. But anyway, back into the work side of things, introducing spec ads. If you're short on work and you just want to stay busy, you don't really want to dabble in a creative project, then spec ads are a good excuse to keep you busy. With a spec ad, you're pretty much able to work with any brand that you ever wanted and dreamed of working for, but of course you're not actually working for them or being paid by them. Like, pick a company for a type of shoot that you'd want to work more in and want to be hired for. Like, say it's for fitness, like choose a company like Nike or Adidas or any of those workout brands. You can really show off their products using your skills in photo or video to make a really good ad. Most people don't even know what a spec ad is, like just the general consumer or a client, so they'll just assume you were hired by those big name brands anyway. I mean, even if you clarify like, hey, spec ad, some people might just think that's just a fancy term for the type of ad that you made for that company. It's not like you're lying or anything. I mean, you still want to call it a spec ad, of course, but I'm just saying the average consumer is just not going to know what a spec ad is or know what that means in the industry. Again, they'll probably just think it's fancy marketing jargon for the thing that you made. Anyway, with a spec ad, you have total creative control. You are basically both the client and the creator, and you are the one with the final say of whether it's complete or not or how many revisions you got to do. The goal of creating spec ads is to create the type of content for the type of clients you want to attract. So in the future, if you have clients who want to work with you after seeing your spec ad in the similar industry, then they're going to want you to make something that's similar to what you already made. So with that in mind, that means you'll be able to use that same creativity and same shooting style that you had fun doing in the spec ad and get paid for it. I think making spec ads are especially great when you're just first starting out and want to get some practice in. But spec ads are even better for professionals who have great skills but want to tie in a big name brand to show it off and attach a name to your skills, basically, like whether it's Nike, Adidas, or any other brand. Spec ads have no paid financial compensation to you other than that they act as a strategic investment in your career. I'd like to think of it as that you're putting in the time and the effort of creating something for free, and you're going to get long-term value out of it when you put it on your portfolio or show it off. Same with building any other skill that I've mentioned a million times before. Putting in the time and effort definitely grows your skills and creates a bunch of content for you to show off. It's just an investment in yourself, whether it's just the time, the kind of work that you make, and just basically free to fee, like I mentioned in the past, but for yourself. They definitely demonstrate your initiative and your drive to be fully committed to creating an excellent thing, even just for yourself, without motivation of money, because you're not getting paid at all. You're just doing this for yourself, just to build your skills. And that shows the initiative that you care about this and you're willing to put in the work, even though it's unpaid and it's free. This works for any industry that you have in mind. Like I said, with sports, with like Nike, fitness stuff, you could do food. Like if you really like to cook, you can take photos or videos of you cooking and stuff like that. Restaurants would love to have that kind of stuff. Maybe you're really into cars, you could shoot your own car or go to a dealership and ask, hey, like I'm a photographer, videographer. I just really love the cars in your showroom. Can I just like take some photos or videos of it so I could just create something fun for me? Because I really love like BMW. Like I just love these cars that you got on the lot and in the showroom. And I don't see why anybody would say no, I mean, you're just kind of looking around. It makes the place wherever you're shooting look cool because they've got like a professional looking photographer, videographer there. So, and hey, you might even network and get a connection with a manager or something and they might want to hire you. You never know until you go out and try. Like even if you have the motivation and goal of just going out to create for yourself, and say like with the example I said of going to a car dealership and you're just asking for permission to shoot for yourself, maybe that'll spark something in management or whoever that's there and they'll be like, hey, we've actually been looking for a photographer or videographer. How about you create that thing that you were going to create anyways? We'll take a look at it and maybe we can talk about working together. Spec work just doesn't create opportunities for yourself to get better at that certain line of work and show off like a brand. It also creates opportunities to network with other people as well, especially for places that you have to like ask permission to go shoot for, or maybe it's at a physical location where you just don't buy the products. Like like Nike or something. I keep mentioning Nike, but that's just fresh on my mind. And then you have like a model wear the clothing or whatever. If it's like something physical like cars and stuff, or you're going to a restaurant, or you're going to some other business, a physical location, then I think that opens a lot of doors for opportunity to network and potentially get work from that, even though you're not really seeking work out of it. Hope that kind of helped with your idea of working for nothing, but then maybe further down the line, you'll have an opportunity to work for something. But no matter what, with spec work, you'll be able to attach a big name brand to it and have fun during the whole process without any constraints from client requirements. Maybe they want you to revise something that you thought was good, or the dreaded, like, can you change the music? Like, I'm sure we've all seen that, where it's like the client asks, can you change the music? But we've already edited the entire video to the song. I don't even know how often that happens. Like, if that ever happens to me, I would just scrap the entire project. I would be like, all right, good luck. You're not working with me. But yeah, let's get into the content spotlight and talk about that photographer I mentioned earlier. On this content spotlight, I want to feature a London-based photographer named Rupert Porpora. I don't know how to say that, but Rupert's style is amazing. He really embraces simplicity, minimalism, and colors very well. I love how his feed looks. His grid consists of a lot of blues and greens, and I can tell he's very intentional when he posts, so he can kind of keep that grid design on his feed. He just doesn't post cool photos, but he also shares valuable lessons and insights into his creativity and his workflow and his captions as well. So it's not just like a quirky caption of like, maybe he went to some country, like he traveled and he's got like some caption for it. He's also, maybe he has that, but then he's got a good length of text explaining some valuable mental, mindset insight, business insight, creative insight, stuff like that. I can tell he takes the time to actually write something thought-provoking, putting in the personal touch of not just saying that you should do this and this and this. It's kind of more catered to be personal and connecting with you as the audience. I believe that extra effort helped him grow his audience that he has now just by providing valuable information and relatable messaging. Anyway, his photography is very amazing. He also gets a lot of drone shots, which are great as well. And you can see what I mean by the rich blues and oceanscapes with his photos that I mentioned before. Whenever there's something blue, it's most likely dealing with water with him, or maybe he flew a drone up and it's over a boat and it's like big waterscape, I really like his style, and I really want to start focusing on photo and video as an art, as he clearly does. I've been so caught up on the work side of things and content creation, but I think I need to start getting back into the creative stuff, being a creator. It's very important to have that balance. You always hear work-life balance, but I think for someone who is a freelance, self-employed worker, I think it's good to balance the work that you actually do with that skill that you enjoy, and then doing the hobby side of that same skill to make you enjoy and like the hobby and skill even more. Keep you attached personally and emotionally to that instead of it just being work. You can find Rupert on Instagram at Rupert Porpora. That is RUPERTPORPORA. So now let's get down to business in Business 101. On this Business 101, I want to talk about the importance of time management. As a creative entrepreneur juggling various projects or clients and personal pursuits, effective time management is the foundation of success in any skill that you want to balance. Time is a very precious resource, and how you allocate and utilize it can make or break your creative ventures. Just try to embrace efficient time management practices, and they'll help you empower you to maximize your productivity, meet deadlines, and strike a balance between work and personal life. Again, that work-life balance. I think I would first establish clear priorities and set specific goals of how you would want to manage your time in the first place, like what's lacking and what would you want more of. Kind of understand the scope and timeline of each project that you kind of work on and break them down into manageable tasks. Now you can outline your objectives and the different steps to take for doing your entire project, and it'll kind of create a roadmap or like a to-do checklist that'll guide your daily efforts, ensuring that you stay on track and avoid being overwhelmed by an ever-growing to-do list or just the idea of a big project. Breaking it down, putting it into a small, actionable list can kind of help you tick off the small things that eventually build to the final bigger thing. I think another good strategy to implement is time blocking. With time blocking, you're able to dedicate focused blocks of time for specific tasks or projects. It'll minimize distractions and multitasking, so you don't work on a couple things at the same time. You'll know from like 4 to 5, you'll be working on this one specific thing, no distractions, you're not doing anything else, you're doing this at this specific time. Definitely helps me because sometimes if I've got something, maybe there's a shoot scheduled at 5, but I have all morning and afternoon that I have free, then I'll just kind of feel like I'm stunted and I have to like be in wait mode and wait until then. But if I block out my time and see that I have 12 to 2 open, it's like, okay, that's a good amount of time that I could do something. And then I've got spare time after working all on that to have my shoot at 5. Time blocking is a very easy way to achieve a state of flow that enhances your creativity and efficiency. Now that you've kind of blocked out this specific set amount of time that you're not going to let any distractions happen, you're not going to multitask, you're going to be doing this one thing for this certain amount of time, you'll be able to get into a deep flow state of just being able to concentrate and work on that one thing. Something else that may be useful is delegating and outsourcing your work. I mean, usually when you think of outsourcing or delegating work to like employees, you usually think of like a business or something that has a lot of employees that you could delegate work to have other people kind of collaborate and work together on things. But even as a solopreneur or just freelancing, self-employed, you can do the same thing. I mean, I'm sure we've all heard of Fiverr. Fiverr's a great place to get some good quality work for cheaper than it would be to hire another freelancing professional. I mean, as your creative business grows, you'll find that some tasks are better handled by other people that you can pay to do it for you. Like I said, just delegating the small things to people that you can just hire on Fiverr. I've had a couple clients come to me in the past and they've wanted like a complicated animated intro, and I don't know how to animate. So I also just have no interest in it as well. It just seems kind of complicated. I'm more on photo and video, not really graphic design or animation. So, I mean, you know, I could pay someone on Fiverr for cheap to do it for me, and I have done that. I pay the guy on Fiverr for like $20 and I ask the client for 50, you know, easy work. I think it's a good return on investment because you are the professional who is working with the outside clients, but then there are the people on Fiverr who clearly have a skill that you don't have, but they're kind of doing it more on the side and not as professionally as you. They're just kind of listing their skills on Fiverr or on another site. Not to say that Fiverr isn't for professionals. There's definitely a lot of professional work that comes from it, and I've definitely used a lot of the work from Fiverr for my professional work, you know, representing it as my professional work, but I've outsourced it. But I think the business side, the entrepreneur side, the freelance side, self-employment, it's just a different skill set and just a different mindset that is more valuable and attracts clients, especially, you know, person to person, you know, business to business. But it's always great to get, you know, high quality outsourced work on Fiverr. And I've done it before, turned a profit on some of them, especially with, you know, animated stuff. And it works out, you know, no one's the wiser. Anyway, just try to master managing your time and making sure to value it and sort of have your time work for yourself, kind of like with the outsourcing and having smaller tasks be done by other people. You're kind of valuing your time and kind of managing it in a way where it gives you more time. You know, there's no way to create time, but you can give yourself more time by giving other work and other small tasks that would take your time to other people. So you're kind of generating time for yourself. I mentioned in a previous episode how much time my past coworkers would waste time at my old job at the newspaper. I always hated seeing that for them, and it made me feel like I was doing something wrong. But valuing your time is not wrong. You know your worth, and if you're charging, charge accordingly. Don't waste it on people or a job who don't understand your time's value as much as you understand it. At the end of the day, it's your time, your body, your soul, your mind. You know, you control what you can control. And if you want to be paid accordingly for that, for how much you value your skills and your time, then do it. Thanks for watching another episode of the Creative Commerce Podcast. I may or may not skip a couple weeks since I'm working on year 4, which was that personal yearly video project that I mentioned earlier in the podcast. but we'll see. I'll try to keep up with it. I'm in the middle of shooting and, getting ready to shoot for it as well. So just trying to get this out while I can, while I have some free time. But yeah, for updates on that and things like that, just follow me on Instagram and TikTok for daily clips and updates about the podcast and when shows are coming out. You can follow me there at jeffrey.scott_ on Instagram and TikTok, of course. And make sure to follow and subscribe on Spotify and YouTube, where I will have new episodes every week, Wednesday, 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. Again, thank you for watching. Hopefully, I'll see you next week.